I see it as a warning.
The internal battle of chaos and order, that's our existence every day, right?
Emotional duplication.
Super intelligence will now be the great equalizer, right? So no one's going to be smarter than anyone because everyone's going to have access to this one pool of knowledge. And I like to take the positive take.
There is a chance always that it could kill us all.
And the movie that we're choosing right now is called Swan Song. I have Michael, Shirin, Carlos right here with me, thought leaders and change agents. Carlos, what was your initial thoughts when you watched the movie?
It was like a really powerful film, and it just reminded me of the power of film and what it could do and what it can express and how it even kind of gives you a glimpse into the future. It makes you think like, well, one day the possibility for people to be cloned exist. And then that like kind of sparked a little conversation between us, me and Shirin and her mom, the view on it, and the ethics behind it, what would you do type of situation. Can a person really be cloned and still have the soul of the individual that they cloned from? So it was all these different topics. So it was cool, and I really enjoyed it. And
you agree really cool.
With it? I mean, I agree with some of it in terms of like I don't agree with. We had this discussion. I don't agree personally that I would do it. I would clone myself. I like honesty. So if there's something I can't do to heal myself holistically and through natural ways, then it's just my time to go. And I just have that conversation and, prepare for it, gather support from my loved ones, and just really kind of, it's a learning lesson as well for my son that we're all, nobody's escaping death, right? We're all going to meet that one day. So here's just your introduction to it early and just not really look at it as such a negative thing, but a part of life. So I don't agree with actually doing it. I wouldn't have done it personally, but I do, agree that Cameron, I agree that he was operating out of love because of what, Poppy experienced with her brother, losing him. And then, how she responded to that and how it was so difficult.
I don't necessarily agree. And for the people who haven't seen the movie is, once again, like you said, created in 2021, starring Mahershala Ali. And he goes by the name Cameron, and he has a terminal illness. So he secretly allows an entity to copy himself and replace himself so that his family doesn't have to experience grief. Now, how they do so is with AI, and they call it molecular regeneration, gene map, pretty much making a copy of you. So he's not an AI bot, but AI was used to regenerate him, and then they transferred his memories onto him. And what Carlos was touching on, Shirin, like people was pretty much playing God, because what they're doing now with most AI movies, they're pretty much are being done right now, but the movie is showing us a completion stage. Like, what if this stuff that they're experimenting on in the real world works, but they're playing God? So what if they're successful with this?
Yeah, actually, like that's exactly what I was thinking too, because I know you can already clone dogs. So like millionaires, billionaires are already doing that. And Carlos asked me, would you clone my dog Princeton? And I was like, no, because it doesn't matter whether it's a human or dog or anything with any level of consciousness. And that's debatable what has consciousness, grass, dog, humans. But if it has consciousness, then it has a soul, in my opinion. Some degree, humans, animals have souls. And so it's like, once you're playing God or whatever your belief system is, and intervening into that, then it's like, it's not really right, because whatever, from my personal belief, whatever your soul contract is in this lifetime, once your time is like, it's your time to expire, you can't really mess with that. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then Carlos and I were even talking about this. It's like, okay, well, if cloning yourself, like I'm not personally okay with cloning, but then what about like the power of medicine or surgery, right? Because that, or like even IVF for women who are older and like intervening with medicine in that way, it's still at the end of the day, you're like with the evolution of humans, whether it's medicine, surgery, pharmaceuticals, AI, you're still not playing with consciousness. You're growing with evolution, right? That's the power of mankind. You evolve over time. So before we used to like light matches and like hunter and gather, now we're obviously an evolved species. So that's okay. If you prolong life, that's fine, but like messing with consciousness, that's like the main thing, because then to me the soul and the consciousness are like one and the same, and then you're playing God, and that's not what I'm okay with. And the other part that like Carlos touched on is like the ethics of it. Like I understand why Cameron did it, but you're not giving your wife, you're taking control of that. You're taking freedom away. You're taking the power of choice from your family. And I wouldn't want that. Like as painful as it is, I wouldn't want some like AI bot, because to me, essentially it's an AI bot, right? There's no consciousness. It's just a memory bank with a shell. So it's like, it's basically a robot. And I think as a spouse or partner or loved one, you have a right to know that, because it's never going to be fully the same. And that's debatable. And the movie didn't really touch on that, but it's like, it's left to like discussion, right? So that's something we can discuss.
Right. What you think, Michael?
It's to me, it's like the noble lie, right? He didn't exactly lie, but he didn't exactly tell the truth. He was dying, he didn't say anything, and then he replaced himself. So as noble as that is, he's still lying to his family, because he's not giving them the peace of saying goodbye to him. Because he's going to be with that lady, and he's actually going to die. But they're going to live on with basically like a character of him. And like she was saying, there's no soul there. It's just a clone. At the end of the day, none of us can cheat death, right? As many of these billionaires and all these people that try to, they cut their head off when they die and they cryogenically freeze it. You know what I mean? Like Walt Disney did it years ago. You know what I mean? Like if there's ever a chance that you could bring me back. You're not going to be able to cheat. So that's just a way of trying to circumvent the system, basically. It's not going to work. There's always, like Shirin was saying, there's going to be something that's not complete, something that's just off, because it doesn't have that soul. The makeup that makes you, it has the memories, but it doesn't have the emotional attachments that created those memories, that led you to make those choices, that led you to make those memories, or anything like that. So for me, I don't really agree with it. When the time comes, the time comes. Do I want to not live on and see my family continue on? No. But I understand there's going to come a point where I'm going to be no more.
And I think the movie alluded to that fact, because the one point where they were at the dinner table and the clone was at the dinner table and then he got really angry and like threw the kid's toy. That was like the one point. I know he was like in the transition phase where he fully like transitioned over, but I think that was like a key point that the director, the filmmaker was trying to allude, that you're never going to be quite 100% the replica, right? There's something that's going to be a little bit off. And I think that was the point that specific sequence was trying to make in the movie.
Yeah, I thought that was great, because they tried to make it seem like it was a dream that the original had of him doing that, but it can also be looked at as a warning to us,
Yeah,
to people in the real world, that if you go through with these, there are side effects to everything that's artificial and that's tampered with. It's always come with a side effect. And what if this happens, that you thinking that you're securing your family by doing this and really just put them at harm?
What about like so like on a deeper level, yeah, he had the reaction at the table, right? But don't we, like as human beings, go through phases of life, right? So there's phases in our life where we were more angry at the world, or we reacted more impulsively, right? Because we hadn't fully healed and evolved into our next self. And so in a sense, we're always going through this imbalance through life. So maybe on an empathetic state, Jack was like going through a phase, right? Like it's a new experience. It's like he's coming into this new thing with a lot of things going on, obviously. So like we all do. And yeah, there was a moment, but what's to say that Jack can't evolve through that, can't go through that, can't learn just like everybody else does. And maybe he even becomes a better husband and father than Cameron could have been, because Cameron would have been overcome with illness, and who knows what kind of bitterness and resentment would have developed in him to bring his family into a more negative state before he left. So there's a deeper way to view this too, that Jack, although he was a clone and he didn't have a soul, I agree, but he was still a human being, right? He was still a human being who, like everybody else, goes through different things and can adapt and evolve. So I look at it like, I wanted to be devil's advocate for a second, because I kind of wanted to look at it from all perspectives, and understanding that like, I mean, he just reacted, but it's like he's just trying to figure out, like, okay, I'm new to this too. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
Well, the movie touched on that point actually. So it said like Jack the clone was actually better because he came back and like they made up, the wife and him like had made up and they made amends, and they were going to start communicating, and there was like a text string that Cameron saw that Jack had engaged with the wife, and like they were doing better, and like he was doing better at work too. So it's obvious, like the new version clearly is a little bit more evolved and emotionally more communicative and open. But like you said, also Cameron was facing death, right? Was facing his mortality. So his emotional state was very different. And then like Jack has a new lease on life, right? So his outlook is very, very different when he approaches his family. But yeah, I think it's really interesting because you also mentioned another thing, Carlos, like what is a human being? Like, is a human being is a clone a human being, even though it doesn't have a soul or consciousness, or does it have consciousness because it's still operating like a human being?
Right. Because if you can imitate, they trying to prove that you can imitate morals and ethics. You can pretty much imitate that. And the only thing that really separates us is that these these AI bots have silicone skin. But it's like the world is becoming more and more fake. They self,
Yeah.
Right.
silicone and all this. So it's like you can't really
Yeah.
tell.
Fillers
Anyway,
and Botox and all that.
yeah, the first thing,
Enhancements, right?
yeah, exactly, enhancements and fillers, and you can't even
Yeah.
have the people don't even look how you thought they do.
Well, not
But
even that. Also, like there's biohacking, right?
Yeah.
Biohacking is a huge thing. Like, yeah, like I take peptides. Like, I mean, I take enhancements, like everything. But even like for workouts, I take pre-workout. Like, there's so many things to optimize yourself. That's kind of the era we're in. The era of optimization is that. So,
and that it
Yeah.
all think about those of us who did a long time, right? And it made me think of a term that I read about long ago called emotional duplication, right? And it's the strange psychological experience of knowing that life emotionally replaced you while you were gone. So while you're doing all that time, you're thinking that like family done adapted, children grew up, relationships evolved, new routines formed, like they found different ways to replace that void that you left them with. So by the time you come home, you start going through that emotional duplication. You start understanding like my role still exists, but my the memory still exists, but somebody or something else already filled that spot. So it's like a disconnect. I'm present, but I'm absent at the same time. I know you love me, but you no longer yearn for me as you did when I was out. Like them type of things. And those of us who grew up with our fathers at times, it's that looking for a father figure to fill that void. For women, it'll be looking for somebody else to fill your shoes at one point, like purely out of survival in that human need to, have that. So by the time you come home, it's a strange feeling. I feel like it relates to the movie because he intentionally replaced himself, but it started to mess with him now. Because now you have to be confined to this compound until you die. They confined us to a compound, wanted us to die, and we had to watch our family from the outside looking in move on without us.
That's interesting, Bryson. That's really interesting.
Whether we learned through letters or watched them on the phones that we had up in there. So it's deep. Like, for those of us who've been in there, what you thinking about, Michael?
Exactly what you said, because we both did a whole hell of a lot of time. So when I came home, it was the same thing. Like I'm interacting with people that I've known for all these years, but here it is. I've been gone for a decade and a half, and they went on with their life and they were fine. And I'm talking to them and I'm trying to play catch up, and you can't, because there's no way to make up time. So I completely agree with what you're saying. Like they replace you because they needed to move on with their life because you were away. You know what I mean? You're out of the picture basically. You're there, but you're just in the background. You know what I'm saying? And they have their everyday life that they have to live, and they had to figure out how to move on without you.
How did you guys deal with that feeling, that emotion of like, wow, life has been passing me by while I was in the inside? Once you got out.
Oh, I acted stupid. Let me see. I went to a halfway house. 56 days later, they moved me to a long-term halfway house. 10 days after that, I bought a Jaguar. 4 months later, I crashed it, went and bought a bigger Jaguar, kept that for a year and a half, blew through $200 and something thousand worth of cash. I just was acting crazy. Like I had no restraint, and I just was money here, money there, because I had a job and all that before I got locked up. But at 21, what do you really know about building a life? So I got out and I was just like, I got it. Why not spend it? And it took me a while to realize like, this isn't going to last forever. You got to build for your future. You got to settle down because life is going to catch up with you real fast. And when I started to see that for me, that's when it got me back to like a level playing field where like my emotional intelligence kicked in and I was just like, nope, this isn't going to work. So I'm just going to go buy a house. I'm going to give me a job. I'm just going to live a normal life, live off my means. And that was basically what I've been doing now for 4 years.
What about you, Bryson? You, Carlos, did you guys ever have to face that feeling of like, wow, life has been passing me by, and how did that affect you guys?
I think the way I came up, I was already so detached anyway that coming home, it didn't bother me much, to be honest, that people moved on. My only concern was my mom because of that guilt that was there. Felt like I want to do more and can't. So that bothered me. But as far as everybody else who I genuinely still had love for and all that, I still grew up by myself. So all I knew was by myself, and when I was doing time, I was by myself. And the yard me and Carlos was on is when I finally linked up with one of my brothers who I've been separated for 13 and a half years up until that point. And when I seen him, I was still emotionally detached. It's like mentally, I know, yeah, I'm happy to see, bro. But emotionally, I had to do me for so long. So I didn't start feeling something to like a week of being in the cell with him. Like, damn, I'm really in here with bro. Like, that's crazy. And we're going over childhood memories, but they left at an early age, and I was by myself for so long. So outside of my mom, when I was in a transitional home, I got out with a charger, got out doing cool, and I was just driving one day. I remember driving down the street, and I'm like, man, where did all that time go? It just felt like I didn't do that much time at one point. It really felt like that because of it wasn't a struggle when I got out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that separation, that emotional separation that we're talking about, it didn't really like phase because the relationships I could have went back to that they desperately wanted me to come back to, I chose to cut that off. Like, I'm not living that life no more. I'm not walking that path no more. We ain't got nothing to talk about.
I also think, like me, you didn't want to come home. You were ready to come home. So when you hit the ground, it wasn't like, oh, what am I going to do? Where am I going? No, you already had all the tools. You know what I mean? And you were just ready. Like, I know I need to do this. I know I need to do that. I'm over here. I'm trying to get this together. I'm going to do this. And you were just slowly stacking the Legos together because you already had the blueprints to build everything. And I think that is a big thing because it puts us in a light where we're not struggling. Right. Even when it gets hard, we're not struggling. We're not losing our temper at whatever. We're not lashing out at people. We're just sitting there taking it for what it is. We understand the mission and we're just going for it.
Yeah. I got out in 2021. Next month will be 5 years. Um, and it's like I got out and COVID was like at the end of it. People were still wearing masks though, in public and everything. And but it's funny how it worked because the world shut down. We were in prison. Um, and then, as I got out, the world started to like also come out, right? Open up. And so I got out when the rest of the world was getting out in a sense. And this is where things really got interesting is because, and then I was introduced to AI, which was ChatGPT when it first hit. And I just like instantly knew that this is what's going to catch me up, right? This is what's going to give me the competitive advantage from most of the people in society, because most people in society don't adopt new things quickly. It takes a long time. And for me, I knew that, okay, I don't have all of this experience in life. I don't have all of this extra education. I don't have all these things, but I have resiliency. I already know I have that. I already have the growth mindset. I already have a vision. I have grit. I have all the tools internally to help me get through difficult stuff. I knew that I wanted to eventually build my own business. And then I have AI as like my assistant working with me on that vision. And most people weren't really doing that and talking about that. I knew that at some point it would give me an advantage. So I just kept doing it and learning it and utilizing it. And it did. It did. It gave me, and it still does. So I feel like I kind of didn't really feel the world was going by because the world was like shut down in a sense, right? They were just coming up. So like the timing was so perfect for my release. Because had I got out 2 years later, because I was supposed to get out in 2024, technically, like most of my prison time, I was going to get out in 2024 if I ever got out. That was the date. I got out early, so I got out in 2021. Had I got out in 2024, my whole life would have been different right now because I would have got out late. I got out just in time to fall into the AI craze. It's like the internet phase, right? You fell into it. You had an advantage on the rest of the world, technologically, and so I didn't really feel like it went by me. I felt like I was moving with it, and now I feel like I'm moving faster than most people are moving. And because I mixed the what was ingrained in me through my challenges of life, the makeup, my character, right, all of these things that I developed in prison, uh, that tied with my understanding of technology and to see where things are going and to understand business and everything. I feel like now it's like almost an advantage. I feel like all the books I read, all the time we studied, all the talks we had on the yard, Bryson, all the times we used to, pass books around and just like study and learn and do those things and work on ourselves too in these groups where everybody else was out in the world like dealing with the everyday stressors of life and just working the 9 to 5s and all this. Like we were working on ourselves, and then we get out and we have technology to assist us and to kind of level the playing field, right? So for me, it was like it was perfect timing. So it was and I don't take that for granted. I know that that's all a part of why like I'm where I'm at now. It's definitely just we would call it luck. You want to call it just the universe, God, whatever. It's something, but it's definitely it played a big part in everything.
Right. Yeah, that's real. Even though society was advancing, most people don't. So to have that sit time, most people that I was, at least who I grew up with, was still in hamster wheels. They were still running in circles, running in place. They wasn't to where the stuff we was studying. They like, man, I ain't never heard of that. I said, what? It's in nearly every article I'm reading. How you never heard of it? But they get in their comfort zone and they just run that. They run that day in and day out, and we still see it today with a lot of people. Every day they're not doing nothing to advance or move the needle. They just waiting for the next check to keep running that same hamster wheel.
For me, I unlike you, Carlos, I didn't do that. I wish I would have now, because like I have been more because I use Gemini since I have an Android phone. I've been learning about the aspects of utilizing it as a tool more this year than I have since I got out. And I got out June 2020 because I didn't take advantage of that. I just was like, oh, it's there. Okay, so what if I need it? I'll ask it something. I really wasn't tripping off it. But then I started with talking with Bryson in these podcasts and things like that. I was like, well, let me just see what I can get from it. And I started having these conversations, and like the possibilities of it are endless. And I wish I would have had 3 or 4 years of utilizing it as a tool, because there's no telling where I would be right now. But like now I'm catching up, and I'm just like Bryson was saying, how do you not know about this? How do you not utilize this in your everyday life? It is literally an open source tool that can give you so much reach, even if you're not computer literate. Like I had to do something. My mouse wasn't working. My touchpad mouse wasn't working on my laptop. I had a conversation with Copilot, and it showed me how to install the driver and all this stuff. I'm not a computer guy. I can use a computer, but I'm not a computer technician. It just had me. It helped me install it, uninstall, fix it, and now my mouse works. So the endless possibilities are there. You just have to know what to ask it, how to ask it, and utilize it for research. And you can just, it's limitless.
As we're talking, that was my biggest driver, not being left behind. But with all that said, now that we considered all that, we all have lost someone being in there. If you can copy yourself to where you could have still been with that person while gone, does that justify it now?
So that brings up a big point. I've been seeing this stuff that they're talking about where you do a crime, you go to some facility, they literally give you the memory of like you were gone away for 20 years and you come out in 24 hours and go back to your family. But you have to live with the memory of being in prison and going through all this. So that touches on what you were just saying in a abstract way. It's not good. It's not good. I would love for my mom to see me as a man, see how I am today as an active father, everything. But I wouldn't want my mom cloned. I wouldn't want to have myself cloned. And then when I get home, there's two of me. You know what I mean? There was a placeholder that now has to go away, and I get those memories or whatever, however it would work. It's not something I'd be interested in. Like I get it. Prison led me to where I am today. So I can't regret that, because where I am today is infinitely better than where I was when I was 21. I literally was living life like it was a movie. You know how we were out there on the streets. It was a disregard for life. We was doing what we wanted, and it was anybody could get it. Now I'm like, absolutely not. I'm a pro-social individual. I'm chilling. They made me serve on a jury duty. I'm chilling. I'm not gonna call the police, but I'm chilling. I'm staying out the way. I don't associate with the things that I know are going to lead me down a path. If I'm hanging around with somebody and they got a gun, I won't be hanging around with them again. And I know I don't want to see the gun. I don't want to hold the gun because I know where that has led me in the past. So yeah, right. I'm chilling at the house.
Shirin, what is the underlying theme you think they was trying to communicate with them?
I mean, I think a lot of it has to it's like a foreshadowing of our future and the possibilities of what, I mean, like I said, you can already clone your dogs, like your pets. And it's like, just because we can, should we play God? Like, if we're given more tools in our toolbox, should we utilize all of them, including AI, right? So there's this whole thing. Okay, so once we get to singularity and we have super intelligence and we get past that point, it's like, do we really want to be in a society where like the AI is like autonomous and is doing everything, then like every human being combined is smarter than all of us combined? I don't know. Like, it's just, even if we have the capability, like, even if you have $1 billion, should you go buy like every diamond in the world? You know what I mean? Just because you can, does it mean you should? And I think through the history of time, and like, if you look back, it's like even in the like ancient traditions and religions and history, there's something about restraint and a discipline. And it's like, once you get to that level, if you have everything, but you're able to implement restraint, not only is there a discipline in that, but I respect that. And so it's a question of a society, like, are we going to have restraints? Like, just because we can, and we probably will be able to clone. We're already able, I think, I don't know, maybe you guys know better than I do, but I'm pretty sure we can already clone organs, right? I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can talk about that too, like how you guys feel about cloning organs versus a human being. Geez, that's just a whole nother level. It's like, okay, as a mother, let's say your kid dies in a car crash or something, and you have their genetics, and so you can, if you have the option, clone them. Again, I think all of us are, well, actually, I don't know about you, Bryson, where you stand, but Michael, Carlos, and I definitely don't feel like cloning is the appropriate thing. So I'd like to hear your thoughts as to what you think.
Personally, I feel like it's going to do more harm than good. So I just agree with you right now in my head about the restraint part.
Yeah.
Because I believe there's more power in restraint than going all the way.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't rain all day, every day. It has its time, it has its limits, and what it does is still powerful and does enough to regenerate the ecosystem. It's not sunny all day. Like nothing lasts forever on purpose. Like it's a reason for that. We always trying to push the limit, and we're always inspired by the results. People get inspired by results. So when you see what you're doing in advancing mankind, you definitely want to be the first one to do it. You know, there's certain things where I want to do it like it's never been done based on what I'm doing. So it's like just that mentality of the field that you're in, you always want to push the envelope, and it's always going to be somebody behind you that try to push it further. And that's what's constantly getting us to this point of super intelligence, but being naive to the fact that you're going to eventually make it more powerful than you, because now it's able to think for itself. It's able to create AIs on top of AI now without your assistance, you know, and it can only be as faulty as its creator. And human beings are flawed beings. So AI is always going to be flawed. Me and Michael just did the first episode of Mercy, where we talked about where the judge, the jury, and the executioner is all AI. So it's like, come on, it'll never be effective, because when you sweep the internet as your intelligence, mass incarceration and everything they did too was to make sure we went behind the walls. You're going to be basing stuff off of, you know, so you're going to be biased yourself, even though you're a computer system. So I don't agree with it, because I feel like it's a point towards too far. I agree with the organs. I agree with all these things that sustain you for a minute without completely replacing you. And I remember when we was in prison reading about in the 80s, it was the sheep that they did first. It was
yeah.
Then they got better with the dogs and had more failures than wins, but it's that one win that just like, man, we got it. You know, even AI, it's been out since the 50s. The concept of AI, they've been doing that since the 50s, but they got better and better and better with more failures. And I don't believe it's going to stop no matter what we say, but hopefully what we say gets people thinking deeply about the consequences, whether you create it or whether you think about adopting it into your own life. It's deep. But Carlos, what if they would have told you after the crime was committed, you could get probation. You facing all those years, right? You could get probation if we clone you and send your clone off to the army. Because that's what's going to end up happening. If and when what they're doing works enough times, they're going to build a whole army. Anything that human beings themselves can remove themselves from and still accomplish their objective, they're going to do that. So what if they told you that?
I guess I'd have to think back to my younger self. And I mean, back then, I probably would have took that myself and went to the army if they told me that was an option. Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of like, I've always been kind of like a rebellious person. So anything that would like help any type of government or authority back then, I probably wouldn't have been a part of. I would have been like, you just had to kill me first type of mentality. You know, that's derived from the ego and everything, and just my dislike back then for authority figures and everything like that. It was more like, no, just sacrifice me before I give in or before I even tell on somebody, because they offer me opportunities to tell, not for my particular case, even for bodies that they couldn't solve the murder on that they knew I knew about from my gang lifetimes. They were like, yeah, just tell us about one of those and we'll give you a deal. And I never did because of this, my loyalty to that life, and I would have died and took it to the grave. And, so going back, that younger self for sure wouldn't have been cool. I'm like, I would have been like, F you, whatever, lock me up, put me on death row, execute me, whatever. That was the mentality. But I think that, what I look at like now is AI. See, I'm more of an optimist, as Shirin can tell you. I'm very optimistic. Um, and so I always I look at AI. I mean, anything that is like world changing is always going to be have good and bad, right? People are going to use it for good and use it for bad. For me, I'm like, how can we use AI to solve all the world's problems, right? How can we? That's my focus, and so yeah, there will be some bad actors that use it for bad things, and there is a chance always that it could kill us all. But I also feel like that it's so much benefit for the world with using it, that it's worth really wanting to understand it more and to use it more. Maybe it's like, instead of cloning humans, we like you said, cloning organs. So there's always like this benefit to it, but then there's always going to be this jackass that wants to come in and use it to destroy everybody and, you know, take over the world, or hurt people because they don't like the way the people are or what they believe in. Or there's always going to be that, right? And I think that I was having this discussion with Shireen the other day. It's like, there's this it's always been this question of like, what is up with the devil, right? Like, why would God create an earth where there was a devil? Why would God create our existence, and not just we all live in harmony and good and happy and we're at peace? It's because we wouldn't truly understand what that is if there wasn't the devil or the evil or the negative that we have to consistently combat with, right? It's the internal battle of chaos and order. That's our existence every day, right? And I think that there's nothing better than understanding what true evil is and being able to go against that and do the opposite of that and actually do right. And like, we've been in prison, so you understand like what really, really a bad place, a bad people, bad situation looks and feels like more than anybody. We all do. So now, like, think about it. That world, if you just think about your day in the cell and then think about your day today, your appreciation for life is a far better, right? Because of where you've been. So had we not went through that experience, we wouldn't be able to experience life today as we do. And a lot of people that are free and they've been free their whole lives, they don't have that. They don't understand like what it's like to really be without, or to like really be in that situation. So they take life for granted and they don't appreciate it. So even though it was a bad situation for us, we had to go through that. And some would have called it hell. We made it through, and like now we can experience life to a more fulfilling way. And for me, like, life is like just like, I mean, it's beautiful in every aspect. And so our existence, our reality is a combination of that. It's always going to be a good and a bad, a evil, right, and good, a yin and a yang. There's always this both sides to it, right? And I think that it's just looking at it as that, as an individual, as long as we're doing the right thing and trying to make the right decisions with what we have in front of us, then and enough of us are doing that, then that's good. In the movie, even though I didn't agree with it, I thought it was pretty cool. And I started to think of like, wow, well, if they can do that, what else with this technology they have, what else can they do, right? What else can we do with this?
Do we fear the gun or the one who's holding the gun?
Oh, definitely the one who's holding it. That's always, yeah, always the one who has their finger on the red button, right? So whether it's AI, nuclear bombs, and all that, something came to me, and I'm curious, tied to the movie that we watched. So have you guys heard about Neuralink, Elon Musk's company? Okay, so basically it's creating like a neurotransmitter in the brain that allows paraplegics to communicate and motor function, all that. So what do you think? So this is kind of crazy and it might be a movie or something one day, who knows? But like, what if a paraplegic can communicate its thoughts into not just a robot, but like a clone of themselves? So it's one step above that. It's like basically a shell, but or I guess it would be a robot or something that looks like it, but it's, yeah, like an avatar. Exactly. Like, would that be okay?
Well, I think it's the same. Well, he wasn't a paraplegic, but they can go through that same process that Cameron went through because they did the gene mapping to regenerate his whole body, but edited the illness out.
Yeah, so exactly.
They can edit all the things that's making him like that, and then just transfer the memories and stuff onto the new body. So instead of the paraplegic communicating to this, if he desired to, it'd probably be a different process, like an avatar, like you said. But he can also go through the process that Cameron went through and just allow this person to live with his family and go through. Some people just care about their name that much and their presence being here that much that they'll just go along and do that. Like, I'm dying, but he gets to live on, experience more, adapt and evolve more, get my name out there some more, and then go even further than that, and then clone yourself into a baby now, to where you get an even longer life and over it. Now you done live 10 lives, and it's like, for what? I don't want to keep transferring the trauma, but you can't. If you transfer memories, you transfer the trauma.
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over. And it's like, come on, like.
Yeah, for sure.
What about like like this like loneliness epidemic going on in the world? And, it's a big deal. Loneliness causes all kind of psychological problems, and depression, and then suicide. And, that doesn't just hurt the individual, but it hurts the individuals that they encounter. So, loneliness is just the kind of like the spark, but it builds way more damage in the person and the people around them. So what if we use the clone system to give people, companions, right? You can, if you're a lonely man, and you don't have anybody, and you're like, hey, I want to generate my ideal partner, and here's what I want, and then you get that clone, and the clone shows up at your door, and you start to date the clone, and it's like, now this person's not lonely, right? What is your perspective on that? Like, what do you think about that in terms of like creating your ideal person? And maybe it's not just like a partner, like maybe it's like a friend, right? Maybe it's companion, maybe it's a hiking buddy. For those of you that like to go hiking, maybe you find somebody to hike with you. Well, that's a little inside joke between me and Shirin. But yeah, I'm interested in that because I look at people that are lonely, and I know people that are lonely, and I'm like, okay, I can't be there for them. I'm too busy. I wish they had somebody in their life that they can go have fun with, go travel with, go to the casino with. And if I could clone somebody to be like a great personality, a positive person who's like wise and who has mentorship abilities to go spend days with them, what is your perspective on that?
Well, cloning someone or generating an avatar, basically creating like a Match.com.
Well, for example, like
let's
say like I want to hang out with Tony Robbins or something, so I clone him. Now he's my friend, and I can hang out with him and learn everything he knows, or whatever. Albert Einstein, right? I want to spend the weekend with Albert Einstein, so we clone him, or you know what I mean? Like, whoever it is that you want, you can obviously with their consent. Like, let's say they have an author. Let's say it's a business, right? Where they're like, okay, I sell my clone for this amount. You can have
my likeness.
Yeah, you can have me. So whoever wants to buy a version of me can buy me. They get the clone with my consent, and then now they can hang out with me all day. They can learn from me, right? Like, what is your
Your
thoughts
mom
on
would be so happy.
I know.
I think it's possible, but I also think as always, the government will be slow to catch up to it with the laws, because just like you could clone someone's likeness, to where now these cameras will be misidentifying bad behavior that's going on with you, whether it's you or not you, whether they violated you or you just your clone violated somebody.
Well, they already did come up with something called the Elvis Act, which kind of precludes a little bit of this, a little bit of the framework. But you're exactly right. Like the things that are going on in virtual reality, people are going to be so invested in that they're going to take it seriously out here. And like you see it all the time, like people online, they're over there internet banging. What is the difference between a chat room or what happens in a video game and I discover who you are, and here it is, I show up in your town because you killed me on Call of Duty and took my gun. You know what I mean? Like these are real things, because when you're talking about emotions, you can't tell somebody how to feel something. We could both experience the same traumatic event, exciting event, same concert, whatever, and we'll have two different feelings about it because we're two different individuals, two different souls, two different makeups. The whole thing getting back to a Cameron, they're two different people. So even though one is a replica, it's not going to be the same. Think about a car, right? Car comes off the production line, it's the exact same car, thousands of them, but they all broke down at random times. They all break down different parts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, even though they're the same thing, because people drive them differently. They go to different climate. They have all these different external factors that are influencing their operation.
Super intelligence will now be the great equalizer, right? So no one's going to be smarter than anyone because everyone's going to have access to this one pool of knowledge. So what's going to individuate us is our personal IP. And what's our personal IP? It's our soul. And that's a different type of intelligence. That heart intelligence, and there's the heart math, Carlos, the Heart Math Institute, and they study this. The heart, it has a level of intelligence. It's like your intuition. It's what creates miracles. And no super intelligence can do that. Humans are able to do that because we possess something that a robot will never be able to replicate. And so I agree. I think creativity, like your personal IP, like Bryson's personal IP, it's all his trauma, everything, every moment that led to who you are at this very moment is what makes Bryson's IP unique, right? His expression, his story, everything. And no one can replicate that. No computer can replicate that. And what you generate from your personal IP is what's going to make you powerful. That's what's going to make, I think, people more successful in society over the next 10 years.
I feel like it takes away from authenticity, and once again, I agree with the whole thing that creatives are going to be in a premium position as we continue to go on with AI and the world of autonomy and stuff like that. Creativity, but as well as that unique perspective that a human being comes with, because nobody else can walk in their shoes. Yeah, you got people making money off these podcasts, faceless channels and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's going to get concentrated into those with unique perspectives because everything else is looking the same. So I believe if you put a chip in your brain, you and everybody else with the chip in the brain, we're not going to be able to tell no different from what you believe and what you value, what you like and dislike. You're going to be like every other carbon copy. My IP is mine. Let it enhance you. Don't let it replace you. Work on yourself. Use it to enhance you. And I fully support it with the right intentions. I fully support it. I ain't got nothing bad to say about it. Once again, I'm not afraid of the gun. I'm afraid of the gun holder. Who's behind it? I'm looking at who's creating this and what speeches are they giving, what intentions do they have, and what's going. I'm looking at all of that so I can know how to navigate this world effectively. Starting with Shirin, give the people either a warning that the movie gives off or a plus positive that you saw from the movie.
I'm a positive. I'm an optimist. I'm just a realist as well. And I like to take the positive take. I don't fear AI. I don't fear any of that because I think it really can empower society. And for me, whether we end up being able to clone human beings or not. Thanks, Carlos. Whether we can clone human beings or not, we can clone organs, and I think we can do a lot of benefits with cloning, like, and also like gene splicing, like just the fact that they can remove replicate something without a disease part. And they're already working on that in real time in real science. So there is just a lot of positive things. I think I'm very optimistic about AI. Yes, there's always going to be bad actors, and there's going to be people utilizing things for nefarious reasons. But there's also going to be, I think there's a lot of enlightened people, including on this group right now. And I surround myself with people like that. So I'm very optimistic about our future.
Michael, a warning or a positive that you saw from them?
I see it as a warning, only because when you sit and study human nature, you realize, like Carlos was saying, people will do anything to get away from being lonely. So, like in my mind, I'm thinking, where is it going to go? And what I see is another type of drug where you have a wearable or something like that, or like Shirin was talking about, you have the Neuralink, and basically you forget your mom died. You know what I mean? You forget your husband died, your wife died. So now you can continue to live your life without this. But then we've seen it all the time in movies, right? And what happens? They have a control on it. You're going to pay for this service. So you always got to have somebody at the top pulling the string. You're going to pay for this service. And if you don't pay me, then the memories come flooding back and you're in pain again. You're in emotional grief. It's like a grief tech. You know,
it's true. It's true.
I can just see it now.
It's a new industry, grief tech startup.
I can see it. I see it now. I think it's going to happen. I truly do. I truly think it's going to happen because, like Carlos was saying, loneliness makes you do crazy things. And here it is, you put something in your brain that basically regulates that to where you don't feel that. You're going to pay all your money to keep that feeling from coming back. Oh yeah, I see it. It's a warning.
Carlos.
Yeah. Well, I guess I kind of feel a little bit of both, but I want to say warning because of the deeper message I received from the movie, which was that, no matter what, from the beginning of time, first humans that, were here, I guess the first humans that developed consciousness, because there was living organisms before that, but first, whatever, living organisms that had consciousness. I feel like one thing that the warning and what I got from it and what I learned is that, people, we all fall short of perfection, right? We all fall short of being righteous, and that even, a man who loved his wife and kids would leave with a lie, right? In a sense, an untruth. And I think since the beginning, it's always been like that. Like we all go to the grave with things, right? There's no matter who you are, what's going on, like you're taking something with you. And maybe you're doing it to protect another person, like, because you don't want to hurt them. You don't want to, tell them something because your thing is like, I want to protect them from this, or I don't want to expose them to this, or I don't want to share this side of me that I'm ashamed of, or who I was, or even who you are now that you are covering up. So I feel like that's the warning. It's kind of like that, we're human and we all have, so many different emotions and so many different things. Bryson, that in prison, you have good-hearted people, amazing people, loyal friends, and you see it, but then you also know those people sometimes have to be brutal and they have to tap into that other side of us that we all have and we've always had, that beast in a sense, that killer instinct, that protectiveness. And I know since I've experienced all of these different things through my life, and been able to look at everything and understand it on a deeper level. I know that everybody has the capacity to do things that they don't think they can do, right? When people say, I don't know how you went to prison, I could never do that. Well, I thought that too before I went. right? But you don't know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice. And so for me, it's like showing just the human, what we are as human, that we're not pure, right? That we do have faults and we do have things that we do that may not be right, but that's a part of our human experience. And so to keep that in mind through life, that the real, I feel like, you can have a amazing wife, family, and all that, but and you should strive for that. But at the end of the day, I think that it's so important for the individual to really focus on like becoming the best version of themselves, right? Don't put too much into giving your life or doing things based on others, but based on you. So for him, the guy in the movie Cameron, I feel like he was conflicted on like making a decision, right? Should I not? What's right, what's wrong? But at the end of the day, it's very obvious if you really look at it from my perspective, is that like, you know, truth is really the most, that's the answer, right? The truth. And fear kept him from being truthful. It was the fear of what would happen to his wife, his kids, even how they would look at him. It was all fear driven. And so he made the decision. But I feel like that is something he made for himself more than anything, right? It was the fear, because he like Shirin said earlier, he didn't allow his wife to even be able to make a decision with him. It was based off him. And so it's just sort of, for me, it was like just a reminder of the human experience and people, that we all have these different ways about us, and that's what makes us human. That's what makes us who we are. Yeah.
Well said.
I see it as both a warning as well as positive. It's lessons all through it. That's the positive, because it gives you an opportunity to prepare yourself for what's coming. Like we talked about, what they're doing, it's already here in more ways than one. It just, the movie itself shows like a complete version of if this was fully matured, this experimentation. So I believe these AI movies and sci-fi movies, it really gives us an opportunity to position ourselves and prepare ourselves for what's to come. And that's the positive in it for those who are thinking like that. But for those who are not, it's pretty much warning you like, this is coming. You either get in a car or get ran over. So I see both of them in it. I lean more towards the positive based on how I think and how my mind works. Knowing that it's coming, knowing that I'm equipped enough to adjust and adapt along the way. But for everybody else, most people live an unexamined life. So it'll be something to look out for. Same movies you're just watching to pass by time are actually teaching you about what the world is becoming. Carlos, what's your latest book? Because that's perfect. What's your latest book?
Okay. Yeah, my latest book is The Leader's Price: Human-Centered Leadership in the Age of AI. I'm hosting an event on June 2nd in Venice for AI LA. It's a organization that hosts events for people who to do AI talks. And so I'll be hosting my book launch there. It is available on Amazon right now, but officially launching it on June 2nd at the event. And I'll be speaking on AI and how, during this age of AI, how we can be better leaders, more human-centered leaders. And yeah, definitely relevant to the times.
Sure. And Shirin, what you got going on?
Well, I'll be there. And yeah, I helped edit the book and everything. So I'm super excited. It was a labor of love and very relevant. Obviously, this movie came out in 2021, but I think it's like a coming up the times, right? So anything about AI and just how to make us better human beings in this age I love to learn. And so, yeah, I invite everyone to come check us out.
Right. And Michael, you have a book as well?
Yeah, the Second Chance CEO. We were having a conversation. You just mentioned it to me in passing. I was like, wait, and I had about a week off because it was raining, and I had already been writing some stuff, and I had some old stuff that I had written, and I was like, this will be perfect. And it took me about a week, and I wrote the whole book. and I published it and all that. Currently, I'm trying to work with a producer named Connor Steele so I can get the Audible version done. Yeah, no, I'm just trying to stay busy.
Yeah. Very good stuff.
I'm gonna just leave it with the third book, Pearls of Ism, film as a mirror, as a weapon, and as a religion. Really unboxing all these stories because I believe, once again, right behind God and the devil, storytelling is the most powerful and influential thing in this world. And if you can really understand the language of film, you can really understand the world around you. So this book is to help people really not only understand but interpret and reclaim these narratives that shape an identity, belief, and culture. So y'all go get each one of our books if you like the conversation, share it, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Till next time.
Bye. Bye.
Who do we become in a world being reshaped by the intelligence that we create?